I should have known something was wrong the moment I pulled up to the curb of my childhood home and saw three identical Lexus SUVs idling in a row. It was my dad's 75th birthday, but instead of the usual chaos of family gathering, a revolving door of aunts, uncles, cousins, old family friends, I was greeted by the silent sheen of black-tinted windows and a knot in my stomach. The morning had begun innocently enough. I was sipping coffee in my car, scrolling Dad's calendar reminder, Dad's bud day party with business associates and family, 6 p.m. kitchen garden. I'd been thrilled when Mom texted me last week. Remember Dad's party Friday night, we'd love you to be there. But at noon, my brother Sam had shot back. Yeah, Mom's told everyone, we'll see you there, right? I'd replied, of course. Then an hour later, Sam sent, P.S. forgot. This one's for just the in-laws and immediate family. Not sure they meant to CC you. Sorry. My heart stuttered. Immediate family. I'd thought I was part of that. My mom had died 2 years ago. Dad had started dating his business partner, Kathy, then married her. Sam and his wife had 2 kids. My sister Gloria and her fiancé were flying in from Seattle. We'd all appeared last year at Dad's 74th, even though we were scattered across the country. But this year, immediate family somehow meant everyone except me, a blunt exclusion. I tried calling my mom's best friend, Aunt Lorraine, but her voicemail clicked to silence. And so there I was, rolled up in Lycra and a faded shirt from a spin marathon, ready to celebrate my dad, only to find the mood stony and the driveway full of polished cars. I exhaled, braced myself, and stepped out. My black leather bag thumped onto the pavement. Daisy, Dad's golden retriever, bounded forward, tongue lolling. She jumped into my arms, and for a moment the world seemed normal. Hey, sweet girl, I laughed, scratching behind her ears. Where's my hug from Dad? Daisy bounced toward the porch, tail wagging, but the SUVs stayed dark. I followed her wagging tail, trudging up to the front door. Daisy's toenails clicked on the slate steps. My knuckles hovered over the brass knocker. I knocked. 2 slow, measured raps, expecting Dad to swing open the door with a grin. Instead, the door cracked to reveal Kathy's face, crisp bob suit expression carved in marble. She wasn't even wearing an apron or a party hostess's grin. Oh, she said, voice cool. Daisy wriggled free from my hug and darted inside. She paused, as though searching for words. You're early. I swallowed. Hi, Kathy. I forced a grin. Happy to be here. She stepped back like I was a stray cat. The party's at 6. She flicked her gaze behind me. The SUVs parked like silent sentinels. Your brother and sister will be here soon. She pulled the door closed before I could say more. My chest tightened. I stood there for a moment, the door solid against my knuckles. Then I heard Dad's voice from inside. Kathy, dear, the wine. I weighed my options. Walk away? I'd already driven 4 hours. I couldn't. Slink around and tail off? No, that never suited me. I pounded on the door. Dad, I called. My voice echoed off the slate. No answer. I tugged the door open and stepped in. The house smelled of roasted rosemary potatoes and crisp Pinot Grigio. The kitchen island was draped in a white linen cloth, piled with silver platters, smoked salmon, stuffed mushrooms, artfully arranged cheeses. An assortment of wine glasses stood at rigid attention, awaiting their masters. The dining room chandelier glittered like 1,000 watchful eyes. Yet the house was empty, save the faint hum of the fridge and the low tick of the antique clock in the hallway. I wandered through the main floor, as though I were trespassing. The living room couches were pushed back, cleared for dancing, I guessed. On the mantel, family photos, Dad and Mom on their honeymoon, my sister's graduation, a fishing trip where I'd nearly fallen overboard. Now Mom's photo remained, even though she wasn't part of this immediate family tonight. I reached out and touched her framed smile, cold glass under my finger. I should call Dad, I muttered, pulling out my phone. But then I heard voices. Muffled footsteps and low laughter drifted from the study. The study, Dad's office, framed in oak panels, where he closed deals and shaped the firm he and Kathy ran together. I edged toward the door. The handles were cold metal. I paused, hand resting there, heart pounding. On the other side, Dad's voice. No, that won't work with the Canton deal. We need the leverage clause. And Kathy's riposte. We can't risk alienating Northwood. That's too much at stake. Their tones were clipped, professional, no warmth. My father was at his business partner's beck and call, even on his birthday. I cleared my throat and pushed the door open. Dad looked up, ashen. Kathy spun in her heels, half startled. The The two of them, my dad and his best friend, business soulmate, frozen in mid-conversation. They stared at me as though I were a ghost. For one electric second, silence roared louder than any angry words. Then Dad's eyes blurred, relief and guilt warring. He rose, his shoulders slumping, stepping forward. "Charlotte, what are you doing here?" he said, using my childhood nickname. My stomach nodded. I drove up, Mom said. "Well, never mind." I tried to sound light, but my voice wavered. "I missed you, Dad." Kathy cleared her throat, glancing between us. Dad placed a trembling hand on her arm. "Kathy, she's my daughter." His words were almost an apology to me, and maybe to himself. She nodded, though her posture remained stiff, eyes cold. Kathy swallowed. "Of course," she said, voice finally softer, surprisingly soft. "I didn't know." Dad cut in. "She's always been the first to show up." He looked at me, eyes shining. "I'm so sorry. I got carried away. I forgot what this night was supposed to be." Kathy folded her arms. "We were negotiating," she said, gaze flicking back to me. "We had to finalize the Ameritech contract." "You should have told her," Dad said firmly. "This is my family's home. No contract negotiations in the study. No one locked out." He turned to me. "Charlotte, I want you to stay. We'll have dinner together. Just us. Then we'll celebrate the way you deserve." My heart pounded. I glanced at Kathy's cool expression, something unreadable in her eyes. But Dad's gaze was warm, remorseful. I nodded, voice thick. "Okay." He swept me into a hug. The moment stretched, and for a second it felt like the old days. Dad functioning as Dad, not a business magnate tethered to the partner he adored. Kathy watched, inscrutable, arms at her sides. Then Dad released me and said to Kathy, "Time to let us have our night." His tone was gentle but resolute. She gave him a searching look, as though weighing her options. Then, in a motion like a sigh, she turned and walked away, back past the kitchen, toward the SUVs. I could hear her heels clicking, a metronome to her thoughts. Dad placed a hand on my shoulder. "Let's get dinner ready." We walked side by side to the kitchen, still full of food, waiting. He opened a drawer, pulled out steak knives, and set the tablecloth straight. He filled the sink with soapy water for the dishes we would do together. The air between us was thick, not with tension, but with relief. As he plated 2 thick ribeyes and buttered asparagus, he glanced at me. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I didn't realize how far I drifted." I leaned against the counter, watching him work. "I almost went home," I admitted. "I thought I wasn't part of this celebration." He sighed, head bowed. "You're the reason I work so hard. You're part of every deal. I just forgot it for a moment." He added a sprig of rosemary to each plate, just like Mom used to do. I smiled, tears shadowing my eyes. "Thank you for this." I nudged the pan toward him. "Can I help?" He covered my hand with his. "Only if you stay." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I will." As we sat down to eat, the late light fading through the windows, I realized that moments of hurt could be erased by a simple choice to remember what truly matters. Dad and I talked about work, about Mom, about the old fishing boat in the backyard that needed repairs. I felt like the daughter again, not the outsider. Outside, Kathy's SUV engines had turned over. The SUVs idled, but gradually the engines shut off, one by one. It was as though her domain, daunted by the sight of us together, had relinquished its hold for a night. When Dad and I clinked our glasses, non-alcoholic sparkling cider, I whispered, "Happy birthday." He smiled, a warm glow in his eyes. "My best birthday ever," he said. And in that hush, as plates cleared and laughter filled the kitchen once more, I realized that sometimes being excluded only heightens the joy of being truly welcomed back. The next morning, the house felt different, lighter, as if the tension from the night before had finally drained away. I padded down the hallway in bare feet and paused outside Dad's study. Through the frosted glass, I could see him at his desk, unpacking yesterday's negotiations into neat folders. I knocked gently. "Come in," he called. I pushed open the door. His face lifted, a small smile, no hint of last night's shame. "Hey kiddo," he said. "Breakfast?" I set 2 mugs of hot chocolate on the mahogany and slid into the chair across from him. Daisy patted in moments later, circling my legs, seeking her morning scratch. Dad stirred sugar into his cocoa. How are you feeling? I thought of my brother's texts, the ache of being excluded, then last night's reconnection in the kitchen. Better, I said honestly. Thank you for standing up for me. I needed that. He nodded. I should have seen it sooner. I got lost in my work. He tipped his head. I'm so proud of you for how you handled it. I sipped my chocolate, the sweetness anchoring me. It wasn't just me. Zoe and Arun helped me see my rights. It reminded me I have people in my corner. I reached over and patted his hand. And you? He smiled, eyes crinkling. Always. Later that morning, as I gathered my things to head back to my apartment to catch up on freelance work, the front doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Claudia standing there, in jeans and a soft cashmere sweater, hair down in waves. She held a bouquet of white lilies, their scent cool and fresh. I stepped aside. Good morning, she swallowed. Marissa, can I talk to you? I glanced back at Daisy, chasing a tennis ball across the lawn. I set my tote down. Sure. Claudia led me to the porch swing. She sank onto the worn wood, petals brushing her lap. I sat beside her. Silence hung over us like a question. Finally, she took a breath. I'm sorry for how I treated you these past weeks. I got so wrapped up in my work, in the retreat planning, that I forgot who else lives in this house. She pressed the lilies to her chest. I came to thank you for not just challenging the rent notice, but for helping me see your side. Dad told me how you fought with grace. I want to make it right. My chest tightened. The lilies gleamed between us. I nodded slowly. I appreciate that. It takes courage to apologize. She exhaled, relief washing over her face. Would you help me? I'm hosting a women's leadership retreat here next month, and I'd love your input. You're so good with details, and you know this house better than anyone. We had to revert all the upgrades after you proved my legality was shaky. Now I want the house to feel warm and welcoming. Can we collaborate? I considered the swing's gentle sway. I could feel the old hurt flicker, then fade. She'd asked for my help, respected my experience, instead of pushing me aside. I'd like that. I smiled, but only if we do it together, as partners. Claudia's eyes glistened. As partners. We shook on it. Over the next 2 days, we transformed the guest suite, my old bedroom, into a sanctuary for workshop attendees. Claudia's corporate flair and my familiarity with every nook married beautifully. We repainted walls a soft dove gray, reinstalled the 4-poster bed with fresh linens, repotted ferns in corners, and draped fairy light strands across the ceiling. Each night, we'd return to the porch swing with takeout dumplings and tea, debriefing progress. Our conversations slipped from decor to family, our mother's shared love of lilacs, Dad's obsession with woodworking, our mutual longing for my mom's famous carrot cake. Slowly, the barrier of stepmother versus stepdaughter dissolved into genuine camaraderie. On the 3rd evening, while we arranged silk pillows on the newly built reading nook by the window, Claudia paused. She looked at me, uncertain. I know I shocked you, claiming rent, shipping you out of your room. I was transactional, cold. I'm sorry, I flipped a cushion. All would roll. I flipped a cushion. You felt displaced, trying to establish yourself after losing your own home. You didn't realize the hurt it caused. I smiled, warmth in my chest. We both learned something. She reached out and hugged me, tentatively at first, then fully. Thank you, Marissa. Her voice trembled. Thank you for trusting me to fix this. She patted her back. We'll make this retreat something special. A place where people feel at home together. She pulled back and nodded. Together. A week later, the retreat arrived. 10 women in their 30s and 40s, toy industry execs, nonprofit founders, and design entrepreneurs filed in for the weekend workshop on leadership resilience. They marveled at the guest suite's comfort, exclaiming over the plush duvet and handcrafted stationery. I joined Claudia as we greeted each attendee. When we hugged and introduced ourselves as a team, people's eyes lit up at the laughter and genuine connection between us. The first session, Leading with Empathy, was co-facilitated by us. I shared a story from my days freelancing, how I navigated demanding clients with steady communication rather than capitulation. Claudia spoke of leading her team through a corporate merger, listing negotiation tactics and trust-building exercises. Our narratives wove together, sparking nods and tears in the audience. During the coffee break, one participant, a nonprofit director named Ellen, approached me. "Your story," I felt seen, she said. "I replaced my own mother's garden bench last month," and she broke off, smiling. "You and Claudia, like two puzzle pieces." I glanced at Claudia, beaming. "We are." By sunset, in the stone-walled library, with a fire glowing at our feet, we closed the day with courageous conversations, a circle where participants spoke truths and made commitments. I held the talking stick, a carved wooden branch, and shared how I'd reclaimed my childhood home. The room hushed, rapt, as I described the rent notice, the legal fight, the late-night letters. When I passed the stick to Claudia, she shared her own moment of vulnerability, stepping into a blended family and learning to honor the past. The circle ended in tears and applause. Women hugged fiercely, gratitude lighting the space like lanterns. Later, as the attendees gathered for a farm-to-table dinner on the lawn, Dad and Sam arrived, surprised to find me at the swing arm in arm with Claudia, arms around each other's waists like sisters. They exchanged glances, Dad's proud, Sam's surprised, and waved. After dinner, Dad stood and tapped his glass. "It's my birthday weekend," he began. "But I think the greatest gift is right here." His eyes shone as he looked at Claudia and me. "To my two daughters, blood and choice. Thank you for showing me what family truly means." The crowd roared. I glanced at Claudia, tears on her cheeks. She raised her glass to me. I clinked it back. We smiled. Walking the grounds afterward under a sky spangled with stars, Claudia slipped her arm through mine. "Thank you for everything," she said softly. I glanced up at the constellations, then at her. "Thank you for inviting me in." I realized the fullness of our journey, from silent SUVs that froze when they saw me, to laughter under the moon, to an audience moved by our bond. She squeezed my hand. "Ready for day 2? I nodded. "Together." And as we strolled through the lavender-lined paths toward the guest cottage, I felt the certainty that family isn't defined by contracts or titles, but by shared stories, open doors, and the courage to stand side by side.